Welcome to the Needlebug, everybody. This is Karen. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I'm glad you found us. And if you're returning, thank you ever so much for coming back and joining in for some stitching on the diagonal. My videos are mostly about diagonal stitching with little tips and tricks and learning ways to do this. So thanks for coming back. Let's see, what are we going to talk about? Oh, my trip. Oh my, was it fantastic. I was at a retreat at Salty Yarns in Ocean City, Maryland. We left, Barb and I left, let's see, Wednesday, probably around noon. And we stopped in Virginia overnight where we picked up another stitchy friend and to take her along with us to Salty Yarns. So we spent the evening at her house and then left at the butt crack of dawn on Thursday morning to drive from Reston, Virginia to Ocean City, Maryland, which was like another, let's see, it takes us about 2.5 hours to get from where we live to Reston. And then from Reston to Ocean City, it's another 3 hours. So we divided up our long road trip a little bit so that we only had to drive 3 hours Thursday morning. We left at 5:30 Thursday morning and got to Ocean City, somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 o'clock, which was fantastic because then we had the whole rest of the day to get settled and, get settled and unpack and stitch and spend some time with friends that we hadn't seen since last year. So that was amazing. And that's really what this retreat was. It wasn't classes or anything like that. It's just come, sit and stitch for the weekend, spend some time with old friends and just enjoy. And that's exactly what we did. Now, I will say the weekend of the retreat is usually also Spring Fest in Ocean City, and Barb and Sherry spent an afternoon down there craft shopping, which was great. So that's always kind of nice too, that there's something else going on besides the stitching weekend. But all in all, we had a fun time with old friends. We met new friends and we stitched our hearts out. We had good food. What more can I say? I will say we did a lot of, pardon me while I mark my chart here. We had a lot of people interested in stitching on the diagonal. So, of course, we were spent time promoting that because why wouldn't we? So that was fun. We had quite a few people just want to sit and watch us. There was one woman that I just lost my chart here. Sorry about that. Here we go. There was one friend of ours that we were teaching how to do it. There was another woman that we have known, and she wanted to learn all about it. So she has a Heaven and Earth design started. So she couldn't wait to get home to pull it out and start trying some diagonal stitching. So of course we had to direct her to the YouTube videos and talk to her about it and get started. So really it was an awesomely wonderful, fun time. We enjoyed every minute. We stayed a few days longer than the retreat. So we left here on Wednesday, stayed in Reston Wednesday night, drove to Ocean City on Thursday. So that was a day early because the retreat didn't start till Friday. Friday, of course, we stitched all day. There was a meet and greet on Friday night. So we had 2 sittings, but everyone had supper together. Sarah, who is the owner of Salty Yarns, puts out this fantastic buffet of food. It was all absolutely, totally delicious. And desserts, oh my goodness, the desserts were fabulous. I tried not to eat too many, but I did indulge against my better judgment. It's hard to resist, and you know what? It was vacation, and I did indulge a little bit on some things that I really should not have eaten. So then Saturday was another day to just spend stitching and talking with friends, and that's what we did. Sunday, people were starting to check out to go home. That was a nice thing that you could do. Sarah always lets everybody make a bag. She has some really nice paper bags that you put your name on, and while you're there, you can shop. She keeps the shop open late just for the people that are at the retreat, and you put whatever you're interested in your bag. If it's something that you want to use right away, you just let who's ever at the register know that you want to use it right away, and then they'll give you a slip. They'll just write it on a piece of paper, and you'll put that in your bag so that you pay then when the retreat, or right before the retreat is over, then you can take everything and pay all at one time rather than, say, piecemealing, and maybe you put stuff in your bag that you changed your mind about, so you can put stuff in, take stuff out, or do whatever during the retreat, and then you just pay at the end. And it's really a nice thing that Sarah does for us. Okay, I gotta find another color here, so pardon me while I'm there is looking and trying to find my color. So that's really nice. And then she keeps, normally the shop closes at 4, but on Friday night and Saturday night she had it open until, I think it was 9 o'clock, for those that were at the retreat. So you could go over in the shop anytime. Now, she did not have the front door unlocked, so people couldn't get in that way. But there is a, I'll call it a secret passage between the hotel, which is attached. The shop and the hotel are attached to each other. So there's a secret door that goes from the hotel over into the shop, and that's the door that we use on the off hours to go over and shop until, if you want to shop until they close, or you just need to run over and pick up a skein of floss or whatever. You use that secret little door to run over there. So that's a really nice thing. But yeah, all in all, we had a fabulous time. Barb and Gay and I then stayed. The retreat was actually over on Sunday, but the three of us and a few other people that we knew stayed. We left then. Oh, come on. Okay, my iPad is not cooperating with me here to mark things, so bear with me here. We left on Tuesday morning to come home, and then that's a long day for us, because we drive from Ocean City to Reston to drop off Gay, and then we drive the rest, pardon me here. We drive the rest of the way home. So we're looking at okay, here we go. We're looking at being in the car, probably about 6 hours. And it gets to be a long ride. But that's okay. It's worth it. We had an awesome time, and it was fun. So that's the trip. So that's why you didn't see me in the Facebook group too often. I did pop in every now and again and try and check things out, or just keep some tabs on what's going on, but I was too busy stitching and having fun, so I didn't spend a whole lot of time there. I didn't work on this piece. I did take it along, but I really did not work on it a whole lot, because as you can figure, it really just takes too much concentration to stitch, with all the parking and color changes and all of that, when you're at a retreat and talking with people. I mean, I did get it out. I did show it to people. I did stitch a little bit on it to try and explain to people how you do the parking, or how you do working on the diagonal. So all in all, we had an awesome time, and it is good to be home. Back to normal, back to sitting at my regular stitchy spot and working on my Stitcher's Retreat again. I was having withdrawal from working on it. I'm sorry if I'm recording on my phone, and I'm sorry if it is shaking a little bit. I tried something new with where I attached it, so as I look up here, I see it a little bit shaky, so I hope I'm not making you motion sick. I have it attached to my floor stand. I might not do that again. So while I am at this point, I did want to explain a little bit of what I'm doing here again. Those of you that have followed me for a while now know that when I first started stitching on the diagonal and doing my rows, I would kind of willy-nilly across the colors. I would look at, say, what color had the most stitches and do that last, and the colors that had the least stitches, I would do that first, so that on a row I would skip between. If you look back in my earlier videos, that's what you will see. Then I went through a period of time where I would always start over here on the left and work to the right, so that I would do, say, this color. I would pick this up and I would do it all the way across the first half of the stitch, then cross it on the way back, park it where it was needed. Then I'd pick up the next color and work the half stitch across and then cross it on the way back and park it where it was needed. What I found now, and I was watching, let me think, Handwork Maniac, I think her name is Brenda, and she had her daughter on, who she calls, and I apologize if I get this wrong, Boss Daughter, who has just recently finished A Heaven and Earth. And I really liked, I mean, I'm still stitching on the diagonal. She stitches in columns, but I really liked her method of zigzagging down the column. So I'm zigzagging or snaking down the diagonal. So what I'm doing now is I'm crossing each stitch as I go, but I'm working just one stitch at a time. So it's nice I have a whole bunch of the same color here. So when I get over here to within these last three, because that's where I have to change. So as you see, I'm doing, granted, these are all the same color. Pardon me. But I'm doing each individual stitch. Okay. Oh, phooey, I unthreaded my needle. I hate when that happens. Okay. So I'm doing each individual stitch. And then I'm going to park this where it's needed next. Now I don't need it anymore in this row. So I'm going to look at the next row, and my next row, this row I'm working right to left. This next row I'm going to work left to right. So I look, where is it used first, which would be right underneath there. I'm going to park it there. Then my next stitch will be this one. So I'm going to thread my needle, work that stitch, and then look where it's going to be used again, and it's going to be used in my next row down right here. Now it's used at two different places on my next row, this stitch and this stitch. So I'm going to park it in the first occurrence. because this next row down, I'm going to work left to right. Okay. Okay, now pardon me while I quick find a thread that I need so that we can move on. There it is. Move on to the next one. Before I move on to the next one, Tracy asked me, when she pulls out one thread, where is it? Do you see how it's all kinky? There you go. See how it's all kinky? Tracy, what you can do is, and what I do is, I take it and I wrap it one end around my finger. Let's see if I'm in the frame here. One end around one finger, the other end around my other hand on my finger, and then I just, here we go. I just snap it a couple times. There, I just do this a couple times. And when you do that, when you do that, it pulls the kinks out. So just wrap one end around your pointer finger and hold it. Wrap the other end around the pointer finger on your other hand and hold it. And then just hold on to those ends and snap it a few times. And then it just straightens out. There you go. Okay. So I hope that helps. The other thing you could do is run it over a damp sponge, and that will also help to take the kinks out. But I think snapping it is easier than having a damp sponge by your side all the time. So whichever you prefer and whichever works best for you. So now we're gonna start that thread with our new little trick that I showed you in the last video. I have been loving this. Anything to not have to flip my frame over is my theory. I don't like to have to, I'm not a fan of flipping. And if I can do it all on one side, yay me. 1, 2, over 1. 2, 3. Okay. So hopefully you're getting the gist of what I'm doing. I'm working just one square at a time, right to left, and then I'm going to do the next row left to right, and I'm at this crazy point where I'm working over 2 pages, and it's so great that Goodreader now lets you split your screen, and you can see 2 pages at the same time and butt them together. That, for me, is the best thing since sliced bread. I love it. Danielle, who is in the group, and I don't know how many, or if there's anyone else out there that has had problems with Goodreader, but she's having a lot of problem with Goodreader crashing on her. if anyone has any suggestions, please comment on her post in the group. And if you're not a member, it's For the Love of Diagonal Cross Stitching on Facebook. Do request to join. And if you have any hints for Danielle on what she can do so that Goodreader doesn't crash on her, I'm sure she would be much appreciative of any suggestions that you can give her. She's tried, from my understanding is, she's emailed the developers several times. She's tried uninstalling and reinstalling the program, and it still happens for her. If I remember right, she was saying 3 and 4 times an hour. And I honestly am at a loss as to what to tell her to do, because in all honesty, I've not ever had Goodreader crash on me. Never. And I don't flatten my stitches, or my annotations. I have a mess here. I don't flatten anything. I just continue to I have a what the world? I got my okay. Sorry about that. I got a little bit of a tangled mess here on my thread card. Sometimes that happens. There we go. And I'll fix that a little later after the video. I don't know what else to tell her to do. I mark everything. I have tons and tons of annotations. I don't flatten anything. And I just am at a loss on how to help her. So if anyone has any suggestions, please let us know, or let a comment here so that I can get, sorry folks, so that I can get back to her with maybe a way to fix. Now, I didn't double check after I left the comment. The only other thing I could think of, and I am not real tech savvy, but the only other thing I could, okay, Karen, let's get it right here. The only other thing I could think of is to make sure her operating system on her iPad is up to date. Like, has she updated her software so that she's running the most current iOS version? That would be the only other thing I could think to do. So Danielle, I hope you get the problem resolved, because I mean, I really think on the iPad, Goodreader is a great way to mark your chart, and stitching diagonal, you really don't need the search function that Easy PDF has. And if you can't get Goodreader to work for you, Easy PDF is another option. All that fuss for one lousy stitch. Easy PDF is another option. XODO is another app that is a freebie app. You might want to try that one, but I'd sooner let's see if we can find a workaround for you so that it doesn't keep crashing. I mean, she's uninstalled things and done quite a bit to try and find a way for it to work, and just hasn't been successful. So if anybody, like I said, if anybody has any suggestions for her or things to try, either let a note for her in the group or let a comment here, and I will let her know so that she can get back on track and not so frustrated with her stitching. I'm at a section here where it looks like, and I'm going to start this a little bit different just because I already have. Well, let's do it down here. You know, it's not fun when the software that you're using causes you frustration when you're stitching. That's just not fun at all. So Danielle, I hope we can get it straightened out for you, or the developers come back to you with a solution. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, getting it parked in the right place. I thought oh great, I'm at a section where I don't have a whole lot of confetti, and I don't, but I sure do have a lot of single stitches, and sometimes I think they're just as sometimes I think I'd rather be changing colors all the time than to and then of course I have to find that thread. What am I looking for? The star. Oh, pardon me while there it is. While I keep trying to find my color. There we go. And then I'll get to do 2 lovely stitches. But it's fun. We enjoy it, and I'm gonna start this one down here also. So in 5 years, when I'm done with this, I am so sorry, I keep bumping it. Not my intent to bump you and make your motion sick. Okay, what else do we have to talk about today? Let's see. Look at my notes. Oh, here we go. Length of thread when you're stitching. I try and keep mine about 18 inches. I find that works the best. Now, I got this project as a kit from Heaven and Earth, and when you get that kit, as many of you probably know, they're on rings attached to floss cards, and it's one continuous length of thread, but they're wrapped in such a manner that if you just clip that bottom loop, you end up with about a 16 to 18 inch length of thread. And I have found that really is an elegant sufficiency for the length of the thread. And that's usually, that's how long I keep mine, or I use mine. I find that to be about right. Well, here's another one I'm going to have to end. Now I do want to show you what I do. Now here I have 2 stitches in this color, okay? And then I have 2 stitches in the color that's parked right here. And then over here I have 2 more stitches in the color that's in my needle. So rather than stitch them, I'm going to park it there, okay? I'm going to pick this one up. Thread my needle, do these 2 stitches. Okay, and then I'm going to park this where it's needed next, which would be right here. And then I'm going to see if I can play thread chicken here and do these 2 stitches. Okay. So really by doing it this way, what I'm avoiding is thread carries not getting covered up. And most of all, it's keeping me from getting confused as to where I am. So I have just found that I like this method. I just like this method a whole lot better. It's more systematic. I don't get, I mean, not that I really got confused before, but I really don't get confused this way. I know exactly where I am, you know, and the whole key is making sure that you're parking in the correct slot, in the correct space. And I really find that I find any mistakes in that a lot quicker. I'm not going to say it's never happened, because it has, but my visits from the infamous frog have been a lot less since I've been doing it this way. And doing this diagonal method, I have found that it really is rare that I have to rip anything, or even go over a stitch that maybe I stitched the wrong color. Those incidences of that have been really extremely rare. And that's the other reason I really enjoy stitching like this. I've been I've done the gamut. I mean, I've tried other methods, and there's time I think, oh my God, this method's so slow. Cross country was so much faster. And in the end, is it really? I think no matter what method you use, none of them are a fast process. And I'm looking more for something that's more methodical, that I'm less likely to make mistakes, and that's what I was finding with the extreme cross country is, man, if you made a mistake and placed a whole bunch of stitches wrong, and especially if it was like a big chunk of color, that's a lot of ripping, frogging to get back on track. This way, I think you find if you've misparked, you're gonna pretty much find that right away and be able to fix it. Without ripping out half a page worth of stitching or something that you spent. I mean, cross country, you might have had a big chunk of color. You might have spent several days on that. And what if when you started that chunk of color, you miscounted, and you're off by a couple threads, or I had it happen. I started in the wrong block. I had it placed correctly in the block, but I miscounted and it was the wrong block. So I'm having to rip that whole big chunk of color out. So, I mean, that's the other reason I just really, really enjoy this. And it's just so much fun to see your picture come to life as you're working on it. So, what can I say? I just love it. And I always, for as many times as I strayed away from it, I find myself always coming back to it. So I finally decided, don't fight it, just stick with this technique, and things will be fine. One other thing someone asked is the way I thread my needle. And I think I've showed this any number of times by laying it over your thumb or your finger, put the eye, and push up, and that little loop pops right up. Okay. And one of the questions I had is, can it be done with 2 threads? It can, but it is just, let's see if I'm in the frame here. It is just a little bit trickier, but it can be. I got both of them. Let me see here. But it can be done. It just takes a little bit. I think if you try and twist your threads together a little bit, it's a little bit easier to get them through. And it can be done. That's 2 threads through the eye. So again, it takes a little bit practice. And if you, like I said, if you just twist your threads together so that it feels like one, it should be easier. And the Easy Guide needles, You can use this technique on the Easy Guide needles, but in all honesty, it is quite a bit more fiddly. That eye is not as long as the eye on a tapestry needle. It's shorter, and it is more difficult to use this technique on the Easy Guide needles. So I really don't do that. I'll use a needle threader, or else I'll do this where you am I in the frame, where you pinch the tip and go, in fact, this technique I'm not real good at, but where you push that tip into the eye of the needle. I'll either use that, or really the easiest thing for me is a needle threader. I'm trying to think. The company that makes the needle threaders, there might be a butterfly on it, or a cat, or a bird, or, oh my goodness, I can't think of them. But anyway, they have two sizes of threaders. They have the regular needle threader, and they have the micro needle threader. I'll look up the name and I'll insert it up here at the top. Oh, I can see it. And do you think the name is coming to me? Brain fart. It just isn't happening. But those work really great on the Easy Guide needles. Either that, or the ones that are, Barb uses the needle threaders from Heaven and Earth, and they also work quite fine on the Easy Guide needles. But I'm going to say that more often than not, you will need a needle threader to thread those, unless you have another technique that works well for you. But my technique of laying the thread across your finger, putting the eye, will work sometimes, but it is very fiddly, and a lot of times I'll just say, the heck with it, and pick up the needle threader and use that. So, to each their own. Again, you have to find what's going to work for you, and use that technique. Well, with that, that's about all I have for today. So I'm going to edit this and try and get it up this afternoon yet. Again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I will try and answer them to the best of my ability. Also, if you're not in the Facebook group, come and join us. It so far has been a really, really fun place. We're up to just under 500 members already. I think it's like 480 something. So come join us. You can ask your questions there. Please put in a comment here if you have questions, and I will try to answer them. Everybody on the group has been fantastic, and they're helping each other, which is exactly what I intended the group to be. Because certainly I am not an authority. I just am trying to share what I know, and that's why I like doing these videos, so that I can share with you things that I've learned along the way, things that might make your stitching a little bit easier. But people in the group have had some other great ideas and are more than willing to share them and to help each other out. And it's been just a really, really fun place so far. I just really enjoy the group. In fact, I really don't go to a lot of other groups anymore because it is such fun. And the projects people are working on are just outstanding. There are a lot of talented people in there that have joined us. So please come join us. Share your stitching. We really love, and I really love to support what you're doing, cheer you on, and we're all in this together. You know, these are massive projects. They take a whole lot of time, and we're all on this journey together. So come and join us and have some fun. We look forward to meeting all of you. So again, it's For the Love of Diagonal Cross Stitching on Facebook. If you just search it, it should come up without a problem. So with that, friends, I'm going to say goodbye for today, and I will see you next time. Enjoy your stitching. Bye-bye.